Welcome to the tutorial, guys. Now we're gonna cover the jQuery, which is a JavaScript library, which is very fast, small, and feature-rich, according to their website. It's a very good library, and it saves us a lot of time. So it's basically JavaScript, like compiled, or not compiled. I wouldn't say that. It's JavaScript with well, it's much easier to and faster to use JavaScript with the library, okay? So we can write the same code with just one line. That would take us, for example, 5 lines of JavaScript or 10 lines. So that's the point of using this kind of libraries. So it saves you a lot of time, effort, space, and yeah, if you use it correctly, of course. Otherwise, it can be very bad. So let's dive into that. jQuery is very easy. It's very fun, and it's easy to learn, I think. So let's go scroll. Get started here. Get started. Download jQuery. jQuery.com. Download jQuery. Let's go to the CDN here. We want to use the CDN for this tutorial. We're gonna use Google CDN. And now we're gonna go jQuery 3.x snippet, and then we're gonna take this one here. Now we take this one and we paste it to our code, which is gonna be here. Just paste it, and then we're not closing it until we test it that it works. So we're gonna go here. I'm gonna go to inspect, and then I'm gonna say S. And I see it's loaded. Okay, it's returning. What did it do? So if I remove it, I'm gonna see this thing. There's nothing returned. Okay, so it's loaded, and the next thing we will do here is we're gonna add the script before the body. And then we're gonna say s document ready, and so, which means that fire this code here, this script, this JavaScript, and after the document is already loaded. Okay, so first load the document and then run this script, which is it's very important, because if you have something not loaded yet, then it's not gonna work. Awesome. So we have this. Give me a second. I'll just close this. Can close it now. And yeah, let's dive into jQuery. Let me think. Let's actually start from the syntax. So we're gonna say S, the dollar sign. The dollar sign is like selecting, okay? It's selecting something. So dollar sign, and then we want to write, for example, okay, let's create an ID here. Div ID, a div with an ID, and let's call it root. And let's say S, select this element, and then what you want to do is add some text to it. Hello world. Okay, so basically what we're doing now is we're saying that sorry, I forgot function. Of course, that was bad of me. Okay, so you have to, of course, add the function in the ready callback function. Now text hello world, it's gonna append this text to the root. So basically it's like doing document get by element by ID root. Okay, so this part is exactly the same thing. Selecting, we're getting this element. So we are applying this function here called text, and it's adding some text to this. Now let's take another, let's say paragraph. Or we can do the same thing, right? p. So it's going to select all the p elements. We can add some HTML. So, okay, it's a bit weird to add h1 to the p element, but we can add a div inside it called I am a div inside a p paragraph. So I can do this, and then it's adding this div. So now if I give it, for example, an ID of red, sorry, not an ID, let's take a class. Let's add the class. So we're adding this div, we're adding a class red, and now we're gonna add some styles. So I'm gonna say red color red, right? So it's adding this, and yeah. So that's how you do it. It's exactly the same as JavaScript. It's just much easier. Look how many lines of code. Just 2 lines, and we have accomplished this. We can actually also do, for example, now we have this PHTML. This we have selected the paragraphs. Okay, we have appended this. That would be the same thing if we just add another one, because it's selecting all the p elements. Remember, right? So what I can do also here, instead of doing this class red, I can also go ahead and add class red. So, and it's the same thing. If I do this, it doesn't work. But if I add this, add class red. So we don't even need to do this manually here. You can just add class. Or we can add css.css. You know what? Let me just do this. Okay, sorry, wait. So, or we can, instead of add class, we had it before, we can do CSS, and then we can say color red, or let's say green, because no one can see. So you see, right? And that's how it works. Okay, you need to learn this the functions because I cannot tell you all of them, but of course you get the point, right? You just Google them and find them, or check their documentation. Now there's another thing. Let's say, okay, this is called a selector, right? We know this already. It's a selector, and this, I know it's a function, an action, or yeah, call it how you want. But this is doing something to this one. This is, yeah, basically function, what a function does. Now, if I want to take this root, okay, this is hello world, we have appended this text hello world to this root. So now if I want to take the root and say, for example, I want to say hide it. Oops, it's gonna be hidden. So now if I inspect here, display none, you see it's applying a display none. All right, so it's hidden, and we can also do what else can we do? Yeah, we can do a lot of stuff, but for this, in this case, we are going to create a new button, and we're gonna say click me. Okay, and I'm gonna give it actually an ID button. Now if I click, nothing happens, of course. So I'm gonna say button, s selector dot, and then we wanna do something. What we're gonna do? We wanna say on. All right, on parentheses, which means when this fire, when something happens. So when we click, then I want you to run this function. So when I click on this button, just run this function and say alert. Woohoo! And now I'm gonna click on this, and there we go. There we have it. Woohoo! So very simple, right? On click. We don't need to add the event listeners like JavaScript and stuff. So it's very simple. We can also, I think we can write this also. Click, you can just, yeah, you see, it works also. Now I like to use the on function here. It's more accurate. All right, so we can see we can do a lot of stuff. We have also, for example, okay, let's add I'm Superman. Okay, so I'm Superman. Now what I want to do is I want to when I like touch this or hover this, I want this to fire. So I'm gonna write mouse enter, save, and then you see what happens, right? Isn't that awesome? So we just hover here, and then this fires. Mouse enter, and the same is with mouse leave. When I leave it, so if I have it on the element and I leave the element, then it's gonna fire. Very useful functions, but use with care, because yeah. You also have hover, which is basically the same thing, because you it doesn't work like that. You have to let's see. So it's the same thing. Like when you hover, then it fires. Now it's firing so many times. So yeah, we don't want the hover now here. So I'm just gonna go with a click. Now when you click, I want to take another ID. Remember, the root is hidden now because we did hide here, and I'm actually gonna show it. So when I click, this is gonna show. Okay, now we can add the show it in 2000 milliseconds slowly. This is just a parameter, okay? And we can do another thing. We can remove this hide. We don't want it. Now it's nothing is gonna be happening because it's already displayed. What we can do is toggle. We can toggle this. Toggle means show and hide. Okay. So if I click, it's hiding it. If I click again, it's showing it. Okay. And we have like 2000 milliseconds, like 2 seconds. Okay. Now we have toggled, and that's how many FAQ lists are being used. You know, when you click on something, then it shows and then it hides. It's basically a toggle function. You might know that, I don't know, but I'm just telling you. Awesome. Sorry for being a bit fast, but I have to cover a lot in this tutorial, so I want to make it as short as possible and straight to the point. Awesome. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna leave the root and we're gonna add something else. We're gonna add another div id box. So we have our box, and we're gonna say when we click on this button, we want to take the box and we want to fade in. But before we do that, I'm gonna add some text. Lorem ipsum. Okay, I'm not gonna add so big text. It was a bit too big. Lorem ipsum generator. Yeah, whatever. I'm just writing something. So here is our box, and I'm gonna click. Okay, I'm gonna also do something else. I'm gonna remove this one. It's needless here, this paragraph. We have already one root paragraph box button. Okay, so save, click, nothing happens. But now if I make this, if I take the box and I make it display none, if I click, it shows up. Okay, now let's remove this one because it's confusing a bit. So this is display none. Sorry, it's an ID actually. Yeah. And I click and it shows. because what fade in is does, it shows an hidden element and it's fading it. When you know, fade, it's like this. Yeah, I don't know if that's a good representation, but you understand, right? So if I write, for example, slow here, it's like kind of an animation, right? So, and then it shows it's hidden, and we can also, of course, I think we can do the same fade out. So yeah, so it's fading in and it's fading out, and you can also add the milliseconds like before. So basically, like the show hide function, it's showing when it's 5 milliseconds, 5 seconds, and then it's fading out. Okay, very nice functions. We can also use how do you do it? I think I can show you a slide. Yeah, so this is gonna slide from the bottom to you see from the top to the bottom, and this is gonna slide, or you know what, let's keep these functions. Let's add another box 2. Let's call it box 2 to make it easier. So now we want to take the box 2 and we want to say 2 here. What we want to do is slide down. I'm not going to use it. Divide the box down. Box 2, display none. So, and you see it's sliding down. Like it's similar to fade in, but it slides down. And if I do this the same with the slide up, you see it's sliding up this. Now I don't know why it's not. It's, well, we don't need the display none, to be honest. Yeah, so it's sliding. Now my question is here, why does it disappear? Give me a second, we need to find out why it disappears. Slide. Why the hell does it disappear? Display none. It shouldn't disappear. Of course, it's yeah, of course, I'm sorry, my bad. Of course, it's because it slides and it hides it after, okay? So it's basically gonna do this up and down like a curtain, and it's gonna disappear. When you click, it's gonna appear. So, and it's because I have both of these functions in the same time, which usually don't do that, right? So you basically do this down, or you do up. So we can, yeah. Okay, give me a second. Yeah. Slide down, slide down. If I use slide up, okay, the slide up is going to disappear. All right. Now we can do other stuff also. We can, let's say we can animate stuff. So let's say we can take this box 2. Let's remove the slide for now. Let's add the animate function, which is gonna take, let's animate this and say, well, let's say animate. So it's gonna take an object and we're gonna give it, pass in the values. So let's say right, let's give it the height and a width. So when I click, let's make it actually, it's a div box2, and when you click box2 animate, and let's give this here. Now let's see here, let's give it right on. Let's give it a position absolute, box2 position, so because it's gonna apply this values, properties and values. I think we need top also too. So it's disappearing. Yeah. So it's, you know, the problem is that the problem is that the screen is too big, too small. So you see here what happens. Wait, let me refresh. So that's what happens, but it's just because so you can see how like minimize the screen. So maybe if I make these, okay, these are too small for you probably, but just for the tutorial, top 100 pixels. Now let me do right actually, left, sorry, left. Okay, so we say 100 pixels. Sorry for that, it's very hard when it's so small. And then we're gonna say 150 pixels, so it's gonna come somewhere here. Yeah, exactly there. So you see what happens, right? Click, let me refresh, click, and then it animates and does this code. So yeah, you can also add animations and stuff, which is very, very common with jQuery. You can make much more complicated things than this one. Yeah, so I think this is it for here. This animate, fade in, fade out, slides, toggles, shows, hides. Of course, I didn't take this a very important one, which is the S button click. Let's actually take the, okay, let's comment out this animate, we don't want it. Let's take the box 2, and we want to take the value, of course, very important. So let's say x is this, alert x. Okay, so the box 2 has value. All right, so what we're doing here is we're saving the value of this element in this variable, but yeah, it's not a value. Value is used for inputs, of course. It's we would say text, I think, text. Yeah, so we're taking the text because this is not a value. Value would be used, for example, when you have a form and you have the input values. Okay, so then you need to use this. You're gonna use this val a lot when you take values for forms and so on. So you can take the text, you can also take the HTML, I think. Yeah, for sure you can. So yeah. So let's say text. All right. So that's how we take what's inside. You're getting this texts, HTMLs, values, if it was a form. Actually, you know what? Put value, say for example 23. Okay, so I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna take from all the inputs. Now this is not ideal, but let's do it for this tutorial. So you see 23, and then I'm gonna click and I'm gonna take 23. So that's where you take the value. I just want to show you so you don't get confused or something. Now we can also do, let's say, what else can we do? We can show you how to add CSS and stuff. We can take, for example, the box. Okay, so let's add this box 2 in the first box. So this is nested in the box. So this is the parent of this one. So now if I say sbox children, what do we want to say now? I don't know, CSS, or we can say this add class red. So we had this class, add class red. So this, when I click, this is gonna go to the box, which is here, box. It's gonna go to the children. This is the child, right? Box 2, and then it's gonna add the class red. So you see, the box 2. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna actually comment this out. It's getting a bit weird, and I'm gonna remove this too, and I'm gonna make some space because it's getting messy here. So click me. So okay, let's remove this one. So I'm gonna click and it becomes red because the children is the nested elements here. Now if I add another one, box 3, box 3. So do we have position? Absolute, of course. It doesn't work like that. So now it's gonna apply this to all these elements. The problem is when we have another nested in a nested element, box 2. That's gonna work. But there is sometimes it's not gonna be applied to the child of the child, depending on what you're doing. Now it's gonna be applied because the color is applied here, so it's automatically gonna work. But you will understand what I mean. And you can also use find. For example, we can use box children find for example box 3, and we can say CSS color green. Okay, so find the box 3 children find, or I think in this case, we don't need children now. So we just do find from this element, find another element with the ID of box 3 and apply the CSS. Okay. And this is like, because you do not have one element, you will have multiple elements. So you want to target some elements of this. Okay. Now, what else can we do? Okay, I think I'm almost done here. There are many things, but you have to try them yourself. So go to the documentation. But before I close this, I want to do an AJAX request, because jQuery, we use a lot of AJAX with jQuery. So I actually have this API here. I don't know if you're familiar with APIs, but yeah. Why is this open? I thought I closed it. All right, so I'm gonna take this link and let's make an AJAX request. We're gonna say let URL is this one. We're gonna retrieve this information. We're gonna say s AJAX. So we're gonna pass an object and we're gonna add the properties and values. Okay, now we're gonna say URL is the URL here. So I hope you see what I'm writing here. S AJAX parentheses brackets URL. Now this is an inbuilt function jQuery, the AJAX, and we're gonna do type. We're gonna say get. We're gonna get the data from this website. We're gonna say data is JSON, of the type JSON. We can also do, sorry, not data, data type. Data is when you send data, okay, of course. So if you do, for example, a post request, or you would set some parameters, you would just do data, and then you would pass, for example, ID is 5, and I don't know, name is George. So you would send this in the this parameters, okay, this data. Now we don't want data, we're just gonna do a get request with we have already the data we need. We don't need to add any specific we don't need to send any. So we're gonna do is success. Of course, we're gonna add the function, and then we're gonna say alert. Then we're gonna say, okay, console log. Or we can do alert, so it's easier for you to see. Awesome. So now we're saying Ajax URL type get data type JSON. If it works, show this. We can also add the. Also, we should always add this, but this is just a tutorial, so error. So just error in case it doesn't work. Not data. We're gonna add error. So now if I save and I refresh it, because now it's this is gonna load every time I refresh. Object to object. So we're getting something. So because I'm using alert, I need to parse it to JSON. So let's use console log now. So I'm gonna open the console. We have an object, and we have this message status success. So we are, if we go here, yeah, we're getting this, the message. So now if I want to access the message, we can just do message, right? And this is the message. And what we can do now, we can take this thing and we can pass it into our box 2, for example. So let's take box 2, and we can say text here, data message. So, it didn't work. That was a bit weird. Maybe it's because it's, wait. Yeah, it's here. It worked. Sorry. It's here. So there we have it. And then we can now in this case, if we don't want text, we want HTML, right? Because this is a link, a hyperlink. We need a hyperlink for this. So I'm gonna do HTML. href is wait, sorry, it's this. So link to dog. So, and then we're gonna pass this thing here, link to dog, and then it's not gonna work. So of course, give me a second, I'm gonna do this. We cannot pass a string, right? Inside a string, and expecting it to be object. So let me, so right, no wait. Sorry, I'm using PHP a lot lately, so I'm using this dot, which is concatenating. It's the same as plus, but with PHP. So now we have this link to dog, which is, okay, so remember, box 2 HTML, we pass this hyperlink, and we pass this data inside, which is the message, which is the object property. So if I click, then we go this. So nice, we did an AJAX request. So I think we covered the basics. I don't think I forgot something very important. So basically the most important thing is to get the values, you know, to hide and show elements, to access elements, children, you know, find stuff, click, events, you know, send AJAX requests, add some effects and stuff. You can find them more in the documentation, and I hope you liked this tutorial. I hope you understood everything here, and make sure to like and subscribe, and thank you very much guys. Have a nice day and you're the best. Take care. Bye.